But if you look at it in another perspective, it could be his hand on his throat.
Yeah,
you guys know we are recording, right?
That
what
was
are you doing. Welcome to Nerd Citadel, episode 6. December's coming up. December's here, isn't it?
Yeah. December is here. Winter is coming.
And so is Star Wars.
You know what it means when December comes. It's time for snow, cheer, and Star Wars is here.
Let's talk Star Wars.
So what we know from this trailer so far is that JJ's back.
JJ is back.
And rather than fuck you JJ moments in this trailer, we got fuck you Ryan Johnson moments.
We got a ton of F.U. Johnson moments, which it's all divisive, and I think everyone's entitled to it, but I, for one, my heart is warmed by the fuck you Johnson moments. I did see some like leaked script stuff, and so far the trailers seem to support what I've read, and I'm not going to go too much into it. But if they are to be believed, I don't know how I feel about how this movie's going to go. It's going to get weird.
Well, why don't we start with what we do know? So we know that in some way, shape, or form, Emperor Palpatine's going to be part of this movie.
Apparently, Episode 8 has been so divisive that they want to pull out all the stops to make sure everyone's back on track and back, supporting, home team. So I think Palpatine is going to be in this. I don't think he should be, but we'll see how they work it, if he is.
I'm pretty sure Palpatine was shown in the background of one of the official posters for the movie.
Yes, he was.
There we go. So Emperor Palpatine has something to do with this. Some people speculate that Rey is related to him in some way, as like a grandchild of Palpatine, which would also explain why her parents were nobodies, because they would have had to go into hermitage or hiding. Which would say, okay, so Snoke and Ben were totally honest. Yeah, your parents are nobodies. It would also explain her accent a little bit, because for some reason, I feel like accents matter in Star Wars. Which, that could also be explained by who she was raised by with, what was his name, Unkar Plot or whatever?
The junk trader, right?
Yeah, the junk trader, because he had an accent similar to hers.
Or it could just be Disney throwing one of their spins on things.
Disney throwing one of their classic tropes onto a character.
Yeah.
But so, what do you make of what's becoming the most popular scene from the trailers released so far of Dark Rey igniting the double lightsaber? What's your theory there?
My theory for a little while was that... Now, have you guys seen Solo?
I have not yet.
No.
Okay, well, you know that Emilia Clarke is like the love interest of that movie. My theory has been for a little while that Rey is her daughter.
Hers and Solo's?
No, not Solo's.
I thought that's where you're going with it.
Well,
which would in turn explain her connection to Kylo if they were half siblings.
I will get into that in a moment. And actually, hearing that along with my theory might actually explain a big thing. So you might be right. So my theory, because at the end of Solo, Kira, Emilia Clarke's character, ends up taking all the money and running. She leaves Han Solo. Not because she doesn't care, but because the people that are above her are very dangerous, as the big reveal at the end is Darth Maul is who she answers to. And for whatever reason, I mean, now her character is kind of, I don't want to say, she's not one note at all. It's Emilia Clarke. Emilia Clarke is able to play pretty dynamic characters. But...
Is she?
When she's not screaming about her lizards. But there's a certain, like, ongoing thing throughout that movie that, you know, she might get around a little bit. And my theory was that they're going to make Rey the daughter of Kira and Maul.
Maul?
Maul.
But wouldn't she have like little horns?
Yeah.
Would she?
I don't know. I don't know how that interspecies breeding works.
I mean, the fact that they retconned Maul to be alive.
They didn't retcon Maul to be alive.
I know Clone Wars retconned him to be alive.
Yeah, but he also dies shortly after.
Yeah, well.
Like we're never going to see Maul again in the movies.
Oh no.
I can guarantee that.
Didn't I see Maul's name listed in the casting for the Solo movie, though?
Yeah, he's in it.
He's in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he dies during Clone Wars.
No, he dies during Rebels.
During Rebels, yes.
Yeah, so he's in Clone Wars and has some of the best episodes. And then he has one really good part of one really mediocre episode in Rebels. I'm not a big fan of Rebels. Clone Wars is fine. I'm not a huge fan of either, but I appreciate Clone Wars more than Rebels. But that's a whole other thing. So that was my theory. But then you also bring up the idea of maybe there was a Han Solo Kira banging scene that we totally missed in that movie. They were hanging out for a good 5 minutes in that movie, so...
Well,
And that also explains or it could be an explanation as to the title of the ninth movie,
Actually,
Rise of Skywalker, if she was of his bloodline.
Actually, it
don't
would have
put
taken
it.
place too far
No.
in the past. She would be way too old to be Ben's half sibling. This is a very young
before.
Han Solo.
well, my theory with the Dark Rey part of it is that you remember in The Last Jedi we have that scene with her in the cave
Yes.
and all the reflections.
Yes.
I think they were telling us right there she's a clone. She's one of several clones. I think the Dark Rey isn't the Rey we know.
So you are really on these clone things. You're like, yeah, Baby Yoda's a clone, Rey's a clone.
I think there's a reason for it.
Obi-Wan, first clone.
No, but think about it. We know
Her parents were nobody.
her parents were nobody. What if she isn't? What if she was created from the DNA of several Force-sensitive people, both Sith and Jedi alike?
That's that could be pretty cool.
Because we know that, Nick, what were you saying earlier about the clones? That the Sith or the Empire had, even though they were created to work with the Jedi, had somehow been able to
they
implant.
could reprogram their minds by, I think it was like an initiative or a safe word.
Order 66.
Was that what it was called? Are you like quoting this?
I'm pretty sure Order 66 was like the switch. That's why
Yeah.
all the clone troopers in episode 3 all of a sudden went against the Jedi. That was the initiating Order 66.
Yes, so we know that the Sith had, and because of what's going on in The Mandalorian, seem to have some heavy stock in the clones as well as in Baby Yoda. Nick figured out where the Baby Yoda's birth should be placed.
Around the time of Anakin's birth.
Okay. Well, yeah. I guess. Okay.
Well, you actually looked at years, didn't you?
It's credited to either the Daily Fix, IGN in general, or Looper. I was watching the Snapchat story. They actually had it broken down in form.
So Baby Yoda would apparently have been born around the same time as Anakin, give or take a few years.
Mm-hmm.
The clones weren't even proposed at that point yet, though.
I think they were
weren't
already
they?
in the works.
You think that was a quick thing?
I mean, probably. They were cloned from the clone troopers were cloned from Jango Fett.
Yes, but when they go into the facility and it shows all the different clones, they're not even all male. They're not all cloned from Jango Fett. The one that they used for the clone troopers were cloned from Jango Fett.
Oh, okay.
And
So, okay, maybe...
when you do the editing later, you can, show that I was blatantly wrong in this part. But wouldn't you think they should have done the Darth Sidious laugh? Wouldn't you think that if Palpatine was trying to create clones at some point, he would be trying to create Force-sensitive clones?
I guess that makes sense. Plus, what we know from Darth Sidious is he plays for the long win.
And Mandalorian's going to wrap up right around the time that the new movie comes out, that Rise of
So you think
Skywalker
there's going
comes
to be
out.
some kind of tie-in teaser? Oh my God, Rey is the daughter of the Mandalorian.
Or raise a grown-up Baby Yoda.
No.
Okay. Speaking of Baby Yoda, and I know we're all over the place with this, but it's all Star Wars. This is all Star Wars, guys. Speaking of Baby Yoda is aged to be 50 years old, give or take. In Empire Strikes Back, which I just watched again, just the other day, Yoda, who is around 900, says he had been training Jedi for
what do you say? For
800 years.
Okay.
So he would have been around 100
Okay.
when he started training them. Wouldn't that mean he would have been like the equivalent of like a 6-year-old?
No. Because different creatures age differently. A 2-year-old dog is still considered a puppy, even though they have a lifespan of 15 years. A maximum lifespan of 15 years. So try working that one out.
They mature at different rates.
Gotcha,
Into their
okay.
Prime and then their prime.
So who knows? Like the Mandalorian could end up with like 6 months later, he like walks onto his ship and there's like teen Yoda just like sneaking cigarettes in the corner. Like, oh, Dad, I didn't know you were gonna be home.
Yeah, think of like going from baby Groot to teenage Groot.
Yeah.
God, oh man, and then the Mandalorian's all like,
So did you notice the scene in the trailer where Rey and Kylo Ren once again appear to be fighting on the same side?
I
From
think
that trailer, I got a lot of back and forth between them. Like, Kylo still doesn't know where he wants to...
Well, the newest trailer shows them fighting each other again. So this is gonna be an all over the place thing. And this is one of those things like I want it to be good. I really want this movie to be good. Like, I don't go to Star Wars movies, and even the ones that I don't like, I don't go into them being like, I hope this movie sucks. If I walk out not liking a movie, like that's like genuine disappointment and wishing I would have liked what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want this movie to be good. I want it to be so good. The one thing Disney has been doing phenomenally is that the movies look and sound the way I thought they would, the way I thought they were as a child. Like, the way that my child brain absorbed and interpreted the original trilogy is how episodes 7 and 8 actually look and sound.
Mm-hmm.
They are so stunning in most ways. If anyone hasn't picked up yet, I am on the side that doesn't like episode 8. I'm not here to argue any points. It has nothing to do with whether or not it was the movie I wanted. I don't care about the movie I wanted. Mm-hmm. The movie I got, I did not like the product.
Well, it did seem like I like it, but I do think Ryan Johnson seemed more concerned with making it his own thing than he did with continuing the story that was already laid out. Which could also mean that there wasn't a story laid out.
Well, that's actually one of the things that I didn't like about it. I felt like it started retconning things that were either established in the immediate previous movie or things that were constants throughout the entire Star Wars saga. And it's one of the things like, and it's such a nitpicky thing, but this was like the main deal of the movie was fuel. Which I'm not like one of those guys that goes crazy over that, but like as soon as they started talking about it, I turned to my friend and I was like, when was fuel ever an issue in Star Wars? Engines broke down, hyperdrives would fail, onboard computers would malfunction.
Yeah, and you just have
no
like
one ever
droid.
ran out of gas. No one was like, oh God, we got to stop by Space 7-Eleven for a gallon of space fuel. But that was like the whole deal of Episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
So like for that to be such a massive plot point, I was sitting there like really confused.
Well,
and also when the one ship did ran out of fuel, it just started sinking in space. That I thought that was a little weird because like the whole thing I was thinking of, they're like, we only have enough fuel for one more jump, and I'm like, well, why don't you just like use the jump and then jump right out of hyperspace, or just like cut the engines? Like you'll just keep going at that speed. It's space. That's how space works.
but you won't keep going at that speed. But
you
have many different bodies with a lot of gravity at work in space.
I forget, where did they run out of fuel? Was there anything around? Because
there actually was a planet nearby. They were near a planet, so it would make sense. And if I remember correctly, when the ship started sinking, the planet did appear to be underneath them, so that actually could have been covered by the science.
Yeah.
So, but still, just like it was such a weird thing. The fuel thing was weird to me. Among other things in that particular movie. That was one of those movies, I felt like they tried to make too many statements that were ham-fisted. Like, there was no subtlety in any message that movie tried to tell.
Like all the PETA messages?
All the PETA messages.
Free space forces, don't eat the porks.
Yeah, all that stuff. Which, one thing I actually do like, okay, talking about porgs, as much as I know that they were just kind of supposed to be like the stand, like this generation's Ewoks, the cute, cuddly, fuzzy animals, I really like how progressively they were invading the Millennium Falcon. It actually established them as an invasive species. I like
tribbles.
That. Yeah, they were tribbles, and I actually like that.
Well, why don't we redirect back to the
Okay, yeah, episode 9. Okay, so Rise of Skywalker, at least one of the leaked possible things that I read, and I hope this is not the case because it sounds horrid, is when all is said and done, Rey would take on the name Skywalker to keep the legacy alive. I don't like that.
I don't think that's what's going to happen. And Nick, what's your theory on the title? What it means? Because I think you're in the same place I am.
Okay, so Palpatine playing the long game, Yoda being 900 years old and having a strong connection to the Force, knowing that some crap's going to go down, could have also had his own spin, in which case resurrection or return of somebody in the Skywalker bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Anakin.
The one that's ultimately supposed to bring the balance to the Force.
Yes.
Although that's not where I was going to go, but go on.
My goodness. Can you imagine Hayden Christensen just showing up in this movie?
There's been rumors that he is in it.
Oh, good Lord.
And the man deserves his dues.
He does. You know what? He does.
He stood by this franchise through thick and thin.
He did. And you know what? For all intents and purposes, he's actually a good actor. He just didn't have a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so yeah, Yoda, when he first met him, did not want him to become a Jedi for very obvious reasons.
too old.
Moving on. So, because everybody was against his opinion or his rejection of Anakin, he probably thought of a plan B for Anakin. His resurrection
Can I
or
do it
something.
now? Can I do the Yoda?
You want to do the Yoda?
I want to do the Yoda.
Oh my God, they're going to go full Jesus metaphor. He was conceived immaculately, now he's going to be resurrected.
No, I just want to do the Yoda where
Jesus in space.
when they bring Anakin in, and Yoda famously states, "Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering."
Well, little cutie. Did you hear that? Killa games?
Also, another theory I have is Rey is somehow part of the Skywalker bloodline. Maybe Luke's, maybe twin to Kylo that was separated, similar to how Anakin and
You mean Luke and Leia?
Luke and Leia were separated.
I don't want them to do that. But go on.
Here's the thing: Star Wars likes to make someone related to everyone. Like it would be like one of those things like, and it wouldn't surprise me. That's the thing. I don't like it, and I hope they don't do it. But it also wouldn't surprise me.
But I subscribe to the popular belief that the Rise of Skywalker title refers to a new type of Force user. They're going to be named the Skywalkers. And that's partially supported by, in the original script, George Lucas did call Jedi Skywalkers.
And these movies have dipped into expanding universe and like thrown away ideas already. Star Killer base.
Well, I also heard that they did refer back to George Lucas for the movie. So that is very possible.
Here's the thing, and that is possible. It is possible, and I'm okay with that. Discovering the new type of Force user. The Jedi must end. Luke realized that there's a certain hypocrisy to the Jedi that they've... and you know what? I noticed this when I was rewatching the original trilogy. The Jedi are kind of morally messed up. I don't like the Jedi that much. I don't like the Sith either, because the Jedi are always playing this long monk-like game where the lives of people don't actually matter. It's maintaining the balance is the only thing that matters. That Yoda straight up told Luke in Empire, don't save your friends. They might die. If you care about their cause, you'll let them die. And you'll stay and finish your training. At that point, I'm like, I don't care if Luke is impatient and brash. And brace yourselves.
Fuck you, Yoda.
But yeah, like the Jedi were kind of morally messed up.
for Yoda you have.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? Okay, you know how you stop Yoda, especially in old age Yoda? Hand out, forehead, and just hold him.
Did you see him against Dooku, man? Comes in limping on the cane. He throws the cane aside, pulls out the lightsaber, starts doing backflips.
Was that Dooku or Sidious?
That was Dooku.
Dooku?
Didn't he also fight Sidious?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a video where they replaced him with Baby Yoda.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I will see that though. But yeah, no, the whole light side, dark side mentality, like both sides will lose in the end. Both sides are ignoring major facets of the other.
Well, they can dip back into the, like you were saying, dipping into the extended universe. You have in other media, you have the idea of the Grey Jedi.
Right, and going off of what you said,
Mace Windu has been hinted to be the Grey Jedi or a Grey Jedi.
Gotcha. But yeah, well, hinted, but not in canon universe. Canon universe has just been Mace Windu.
Well, hinted at in canon universe. Think about, okay, we've been told that all the colors of the lightsabers all mean something.
Oh, gotcha. And he's the
We
only...
had the blue lightsaber. We had the red lightsaber. What color is Mace Windu's lightsaber?
Purple. Because that's what Sam Jackson wanted it to be. But, okay, but going back to what you were saying, that a new breed of Jedi, a new school of thought calling themselves the Skywalker, would be the perfect marriage of the light and the dark.
That's like
something
for-
that Luke struggled with in Jedi, and something that Rey struggled with in the last movie and will probably continue to struggle with in this one. And she and Kylo Ren, see, I don't think... It's like, on one end, I'm like, right now, there's no one worse. There's, like, no one with a lower, more, like, there's no one that is committing worse atrocities than Kylo Ren. So it makes narrative sense that he should be defeated and most likely killed. But if they're going to go the route of having Sidious still be around, then much like the original trilogy where the Emperor was brought in introduced in the last movie and had a collective like 7 minutes of screen time to establish he's the bad guy, he is more evil than Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. They might just be kind of recycling that. J.J. Abrams does like to pay certain homage to things while still twisting the narrative meaning around. Maybe this is going to be one of those things where he does just kind of go for the carbon copy thing. Emperor is somehow still around, has been orchestrating a lot of what's going on from just behind the scenes in the shadows. And end of the day, maybe Kylo Ren lives and helps Rey learn the dark side. Mm-hmm. And she can bring him back to the light. And together they
gray it up.
They gray it up. They become
euphemism.
The Skywalkers. Some people are into Adam Driver. I'm not.
So.
Can you imagine that? Just, I'm going to take off your clothes now. Don't do it. The Palpatine's in the corner.
Yes.
Do it. Do it. Yes.
Further on to that.
Feel your blood pressure rise.
Further on to that Skywalker theory, Yoda is responsible for getting rid of the Jedi knowledge on Luke's place and saying that Rey has learned all that she needs from Luke Skywalker.
That could be implied, but the literal next scene is her walks from the Jedi Temple.
Case in point.
Yeah, the literal next scene is like it shows like a drawer in the Falcon.
That wasn't Yoda's plan for those books to survive. So.
You think Yoda would need Yoda of all people? It's like, overlook this, I did.
He didn't want Anakin to become a Jedi, but that's the.
Well, you're right. God, Yoda's not the best either, is he?
No.
Man, the Jedi just have a track record of messing up. Like, look, I'm all about, balance and things like that, but, you don't have a good track record. There aren't a whole lot of you left.
It's a big universe. We don't really know that.
Yeah, well... who knows, maybe Ahsoka...
Hasn't it only taken place in one galaxy, though?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I guess.
So,
and, depending on how canon or not canon things are, Ahsoka could still be hanging around with some Force Wolves somewhere, which retroactively makes Luke not that special when someone that much more powerful than him has just been hanging out. But, yeah.
So,
Oh, and I started watching The Mandalorian, good show. CG's a little wonky at times in the first episode, but overall shot really well. Some of the dialogue is a little strange, like a little weird, like a little, almost a little cringy, but then I also think of it, like you said, like a live action cartoon, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I have spoken. I'm like, oh, Nick Nolte.
Well, when you get to 2 and 3,
I'm sure
it flows better.
Yeah, that's I always typically with shows like this show's kind of like a mini series. So I would expect by the second or third episode things would smooth out and pan out. Like for shows that are, 10 plus episodes a season, I will usually give the first... Yeah, shut up, Nick. God, I'm talking. Like I always do.
Trust him, Favreau. You must.
I do trust Jon Favreau. So, but for like multi-season shows, I usually give the first season a pass if it's not that good. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm on record here saying I don't really like the first season of Game of Thrones.
Like,
Yeah, some of it,
I
yes.
would have liked to see where that damn helicopter...
Anyone hasn't seen season 9 at this point. But, yeah, it's wintertime. It's time for Star Wars cheer. We should watch the Star Wars holiday special.
Do reaction video.
Oh, God, I've seen enough of it to know it's horrible. Look, George Lucas, the man behind the prequels, has straight up said he would like to find and burn every copy of the holiday special to tell you how bad that is.
Right, let's not forget, you keep saying George Lucas, the man behind the prequels. Let's not forget he's the man behind the original trilogy.
You're right, he was part of the team behind the original trilogy.
Let's give him a little bit of credit,
No,
even
no,
though the rumor has it that his wife actually wrote most of it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But you know what? No, I do give credit where it's due. George Lucas, you know what? He's a man whose first few drafts are not good, but then as soon as he gets an outside opinion on the groundwork he's laid, it clears his vision as to what's going to work good and what doesn't, and he ends up revising things to make a more cohesive story. That's why the original trilogy is super solid. Like, episode 4 and 5 are like perfect movies. Mm-hmm. Episode 6 I'm not super big on. I do like Return of the Jedi, but it's definitely the goofiest out of the OT. My girlfriend and I were even talking about, like, the acting is weird in that movie. They turn from being like fantasy sci-fi actors into comedy actors. Like, Harrison Ford is weirdly animated in that movie. Mm-hmm. But even then, it's still a good movie. Whereas the prequels overall were super rushed, according to inside sources. That I wish I could quote them directly. If I can find the information, I'll link it somewhere. But apparently they were super rushed, and they worked with George's like earliest drafts. Like, no one stood up to him to be like, hey, I don't think so. Let's change some things around to make this a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And that's why we got the prequels that we did, with the kind of dialogue and writing, the overly Shakespearean speech patterns, which I get it. Lucas is a big Shakespeare fan, and he credits Shakespeare as to being an influence on how he writes a lot of characters and arcs and stories. But this is something that you can tell it was so overtly Shakespearean that I feel like it was distracting in the prequels. And I'm not faulting any of the actors. People want to talk about Jake Lloyd, Ewan McGregor. Well, actually, no one talks bad on Ewan McGregor. He was the shining light of the prequels. His Obi-Wan is so good. And even better in Clone Wars, I'll give him that. Like, Hayden Christensen is an actual good actor, but you can tell he was given so little to work with. And Natalie Portman was Natalie Portman in that movie, in those movies. I don't even know how to describe that. Like, Natalie Portman's like one of those actresses where I feel like everything she does, she's good, but something's missing.
Well, technically, in episode 1, Natalie Portman was Keira Knightley, or Keira Knightley was Natalie Portman, something like that.
Yeah, whatever.
Keira Knightley was the decoy. Natalie Portman was Padme.
Yes, and Natalie Portman stayed Padme for the next 2 movies. Good job.
But so Rise of Skywalker coming to a theater near you.
December
Christmas.
20th.
Well, yeah, Christmas 2019. I almost said 2020. 2019. Wow, wouldn't they get really pissed off if we get to like the 3rd week of December and we just get an announcement that they're new mutanting Star Wars?
What do you mean?
New Mutants, the movie that was supposed to come out in like the last X-Men movie that was supposed to come out in like 2017 that still hasn't hit theaters.
Oh, it just gets delayed?
Yeah.
Nah, Disney would never do that. Disney would not let that happen. Do you know what would happen if Lucasfilm were like, we can't release on time? There would be a public execution, Disney style. The head of Lucasfilm will be like skewered with a keyblade. Like,
people hang by Woody's pull string.
yeah, they're just like, do you have any last words? Executioner. Good. Then as they fall and the neck snaps, you just hear, and they start rising slowly.
As they're playing,
There's a snake in my boots.
It just starts playing in the background real slowly. Like, remember Age of Ultron?
You got a friend in me.
Remember like with Age of Ultron? I have no strings. Like Disney just has to remind you that they're going dark.
Yeah, yeah. This turns out this is the Toy Story live action reboot, which isn't actually live action. And the only reason I say that is because everyone's like, "Oh yeah, the live action Lion King remake," and I'm like, that thing is 100% CGI. None of it is live action. For Christ's sake, don't call something live action if it's not live action.
And have James Earl Jones do the voice of Emperor Zurg.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, I'm like, Emperor's... Oh. As long as Michael Cera plays Sid. Or no, not Michael Cera. What was the kid from that movie? You know.
So since Chris has finally finished Superman Red Sun, we were going to do that today, but in the... you guys can disagree with me, but in favor of running short on time, I think we should instead save that for next week.
Sure.
And instead talk a little bit about Crisis, since that kicks off next Sunday.
Yes, talk to me about that Crisis, because I don't have CW.
I have to... Okay, so...
We all just start making excuses. Oh, well, I missed the last episode of Supergirl.
I don't watch Supergirl.
No, let's just go off of what
Green Arrow, though. Green Arrow, or Arrow, I should say. I watched the last season, haven't watched any of this season yet.
It's alright, I'm sure half of it takes place on the island in a flashback.
No.
I know, I know they probably haven't done that since, like, the second season, but...
The majority of the newest season, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is supposed to be Oliver's story leading up to Crisis.
Yeah, and they're doing the same thing on The Flash. You're getting a lot of the Monitor, like them trying to prepare for what the Monitor told them. The Monitor told both Barry and Ollie that they're going to die during the Crisis. Mm-hmm. And that they have to die in order to save their friends.
Does Green Arrow in the comics die during the Crisis? I know Flash is supposed to die.
It's completely... Yeah, these series are completely different from...
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to say, I know the Crisis of Infinite Earths comic, doesn't it end with the Flash sacrificing himself?
Wow.
Yes.
Right?
No, Barry. Barry sacrifices himself at the end of the Crisis.
And what happens with Wally?
Wally becomes the new Flash. No.
Oh, well, Wally becomes the new Flash.
Am I getting things? New 52. I'm getting mixed with New 52.
Yes. Yeah, New 52, Wally disappeared.
Okay.
Well, you know what CW will probably do. I don't watch enough of these shows to know this for sure. But I know Flash is like the big show. Like they're like all the shows are successful, but Flash is the one that for the most part people love the most.
Mm. Well,
maybe they'll end the crisis with having Wally sacrifice himself, since has he tapped into the Speed Force?
Well, I don't even know if Wally's going to be in it. I haven't seen a lot concerning Wally. Is he still in Legends of Tomorrow?
I need to catch up on Legends of Tomorrow as well.
God, we're a handful of really sucky nerds.
We are what you call a cavalcade of idiots. We
I
are
blame
bad
Disney
nerds.
for expanding everything. It makes it harder to keep up on.
Yeah, why do we gotta keep expanding things? Why can't we just have movies? Because now I got Disney Plus. I'm glad I got Disney Plus. I'm gonna have to watch WandaVision now.
10 years ago, you didn't have all this information to catch up on.
Yeah, 10 years ago, you just watched a couple episodes of a show and you're like, oh, wow. Well, I know where the Doctor is going this year.
You know what I really am excited to see, and I can't remember if we talked about this in a past video, but they're putting, the most recent trailer put some emphasis on Lois and Clark's baby, newborn son, John. I don't know if you're familiar with the comics at all, but
No.
a lot of Superman comics now revolve around him raising his son.
Oh, cool. Good for them.
And it sounds like the upcoming TV show, which I believe starts next season, Superman and Lois, is going to center around them raising a half Kryptonian child. And they actually have them with the baby in the latest trailer.
Oh, that's cute. Well, isn't Black Canary in any of these shows?
Yes, too many Black Canaries. All right, so
Birds of Prey. Who was in that again? Because I'm pretty sure Crisis is supposed to dip back into those characters as well and bring them in.
oh yeah. So yeah,
No, is Harley in the Birds of Prey as well, or?
No,
Is that all
that's
just
for the movie.
Wasn't
That's for the movie.
Wasn't Dr. Quinn hardly in Birds of Prey?
She was, but she was the main villain in the original WB Birds of Prey show. They're actually you remember the WB Birds of Prey show? It followed
Roughly.
the Helena Wayne, or was it Helena Kyle? I think it was Helena Wayne, the daughter of Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne.
You don't say. By shooting both those last names as her possible last name. I'm like, I wonder who her parents could be. She's that cat.
But she's being brought back. She's being brought into the Crisis. We have several characters from Smallville, of course, with Tom Welling's Clark Kent being brought into it. We have Burt Ward.
Burt Ward.
Robin.
Oh, duh.
Showing up as I think he's like 65-year-old man who happens to be wearing like a Christmas sweater that's all the Robin colors, the red, yellow, and green. Walking a German Shepherd, who I'm imagining is Ace the Bat Hound.
Oh my
How
god.
did Ace live that long?
And
Well, golly gee whiz.
and then we got there was a hint, or they alluded to John Diggle from Arrow. Diggle, he starts off as like his security guy.
Yes.
There was a long-standing fan theory that he is in fact Jon Stewart.
And then in another universe, it's revealed that he is Jon Stewart.
Oh.
Yeah, the actual the Flash from the old 90s Flash series with John Wesley Shipp.
Yes.
His Flash came into it in the last
Where is
special.
CW getting all this money? Does Disney own CW?
He came into it in the last special, and he says, he's like, "Hey John, good to see you." And he's like, didn't recognize you, or you look a little different without your ring.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. So we got Jon Stewart. That's good.
But Nick, what characters that they haven't announced are you hoping to see? because you know there's going to be some surprises. We have a 5-hour event. There's no way there isn't surprises.
Justin Hartley, if I'm getting his name right, I want to see his arrow in it. His Green Arrow.
Justin.
Because I'm not sure. I don't believe he's been revealed
You ever watch This Is Us?
No.
Okay.
Oh my God! What if like episode?
Oh, remember the pilot for the WB Aquaman series that never aired?
No.
I give up. Go ahead.
What if like episode 2 or 3 is about to end, and it's like some bad things are going down. You got all the various Batmen around, and like something's coming crashing down on them, and then it's just blown up out of the air, and they're like, if I get Kevin Conroy's like, what was that? And the camera pans over, it's friggin' Christian Bale's Batman. You guys look like you could use some help. Why are you talking like that?
Well, we already know Michael Keaton's Batman makes an appearance in a way. There's a newspaper that was shown on set that has Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne on it, and it says like billionaire industrialist Bruce Wayne to marry socialite Selena Kyle.
Oh, I'm glad they ended up together. Plus that Selena Kyle had this uncanny ability to like take like a foot of leather and make an entire outfit out of it. Continue.
They jump started the Flash series by having the Flash come into Arrow. Maybe it's in the realm of possibility that they jumpstart the HBO's Green Lantern by having him start in this crisis.
Have we gotten like an actual Green Lantern yet in those shows?
No, but we do know
That would be
HBO Max. One of their series is going to be Green Lantern series.
Oh my God! It's the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern shows up. I think. Look, at that point, I think everyone could be like, "All right, all right, I got it. I'm down." He shows up and he's all like, "Sorry, I'm late. I don't know," and he said something really Ryan Reynoldsy. Something like really Canadian. Oh my God, the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern shows up.
Or you open the show Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, and then you just hear a gunshot and you see Deadpool tippy-toeing out of the scene in the background.
You mean like how Deadpool 2 actually did it?
Yeah. And then you drop the title screen, and then the show just continues with a completely different actor, just like Ryan Reynolds was never there.
Oh, okay. Right on. Just fixing errors.
Leading up some continuity.
And then in the credits you have Ryan Reynolds as, the writer of the Green Lantern series.
I like it. Yeah, I don't know. Is someone who could appear in the Crisis event. Martian Manhunter.
Which one? The Supergirl one?
Oh, he's already in it? Never mind then. I think Firestorm's already in it, in one of the shows.
He was.
Is Legends going to be a part of this crisis?
Yeah.
Blue Beetle? Or Scarab or whatever his
I feel
name
like
is?
we had a Blue Beetle, but I can't remember what
They've
show.
talked about. They've mentioned. Well, Blue Beetle did make an appearance in Smallville,
Yes.
and they've talked about Ted Kord in Arrow, but he hasn't made an appearance, I don't think.
Oh my God. Somehow CW, with all the infinite money they apparently have, somehow hire Ben Affleck to reprise Batman and be the Dark Knight Returns Batman.
be the Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Yes.
That'd be interesting. Because you're already showing a picture of Michael Keaton from Dark Knight Returns. So how would you... I'm sorry.
You're thinking Batman
Returns.
Batman Returns.
They keep recycling titles. It's not my
Are
fault.
you thinking Dark Knight Rises?
No, The Dark Knight Returns. The comic
No, I
series
get
that
what
was
you're
made
saying.
into an animated
Yeah.
movie. This is an older, grizzled Bruce Wayne.
You've read it. You have it.
Who
I'm drawing a blank.
okay, well, crime and criminals they're just kind of really running amok in Gotham, and this whole graphic novel was written after the Adam West campiness to kind of, for comic readers, return Batman to form. So they make an older but like really way more grizzled and violent Batman who has to match his brutality to the brutality of the future world. And this is what they based the whole actual conflict between Batman and Superman in Batman versus Superman on. There was a chapter in Dark Knight Returns where Batman has to don like a mech suit and have a fist fight with Superman. And it's actually the best part of the whole thing. Except even then, Batman's just like way too mean and grizzled. I want you to remember who beat you in your darkest hours, on your coldest nights. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. Like he's savage in that comic.
Well, when they first announced Batman v Superman, that was actually the line that they read on stage at Comic-Con.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But I'd be content even if they just had like a body double for Ben Affleck just on his costume for like a quick scene.
Oh hell yeah, that'd be fine.
But
Honestly, all they gotta do is just find a guy with that kind of jawline.
you can get Chris O'Donnell back as Robin for a scene like that. You do it for free.
Oh, have it. Yeah. Well, what's he got going on? Have him come in as Nightwing. No, here's what you do. Here's what you do. Okay, CW, are you listening to me? You got to go over to whoever runs AMC's actors. Find Steven Yeun. He left The Walking Dead because he wanted to play Nightwing. Hire him.
Too bad we already have a really kick-ass Nightwing on Titans.
Yeah, well, you'll get a better one with Steven Yeun.
We just watched that today. The latest episode of Titans, the finale of season 2, is just called Nightwing. It's awesome.
Yeah, but was it Steven Yeun?
No,
I might actually be butchering his name. I don't know how his...
You're giving him a different last name every time you say his name.
Steven Yeun.
Yeah, but the last time you said Yin.
I don't know how it's actually pronounced. And I don't want to seem like in any way insensitive. But it would be cool. It'd be cool to get him in as a Nightwing. Just saying. I don't know, or just an older Terry McGinnis.
All right, guys. Well, depending on when we do our video next week, we will either be talking about, I guess, some last-minute news that comes out about Crisis, or maybe it'll be after the Crisis. We'll be talking about the first episode. But until then,
you stay nerdy, and
that's what I was going to say, but I thought maybe you'd come up with something better. Thanks for letting me down.
Epstein killed himself.